got extra herbs here, just brush them onto the floor. Someone else will clean those up. Hi, all. Chef Dave from Dave's Specialty Foods here. Welcome to another episode of How Can Dave Make Your Life Better? Here's a good way to do that. We're gonna make old school Salisbury steak with mushroom gravy. I talk about like old school stuff that we need to see. I would like to see more often in restaurants in general. And you get these places they'll be kind of old school meatloafy or whatever. I'm like, where's the Salisbury steak? You know, where's the chicken pot pie really done well? That kind of stuff. And where's the gravy? I don't see gravy anymore. So we're gonna do kind of two birds in one stone here. We're gonna make a Salisbury steak, which is simply, it's like meatloaf, and there's no bun here, so people kind of have been kind of going bunless, and you get the lettuce wraps on things, and great idea, but you need a sauce or a gravy, not just ketchup on top. And within this, with the gravy, is another gravy recipe, which is for Maggie, who's filming here, vegetarian. And I'm thinking, as I go here, I'll double check, but I think it's vegan also. So we kind of, attack two things at the same time here. You can learn how to make the gravy by itself and put that on. You could dip a grilled cheese sandwich into it. I think it'd be great. And then we're going to do it in this pan over here. And then over here, we're going to make our little Salisbury steak, which is kind of old school and pretty simple. So let's get right to it. So let's take an onion here, okay? I've already peeled this, okay? So this is about a medium-sized onion. And we're going to cut about halfway here. And we're going to cut this into kind of strips, really thin strips. Oh, this knife it's like butter. It's awesome. So we're going to get about to the half of the onion. We're going to turn it down. We always want to be cutting away from ourselves. We're going to just cut it like this. Boom, 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 boom. Great. Perfect. So we're going to use this for our gravy. So this is about a half an onion. This will make about 5 or 6 little Salisbury burgers or even meatloaf. Again, this is a recipe kind of meatloafy. We're going to have a Cajun spice. How do I know this is Cajun spice? Because I wrote Cajun on the bottle. I buy my spices in a little bit bigger bulk. We have a nice Cajun spice. Pick your poison on there. There's a Paul Prudhomme. You pick your Cajun spice. Just make sure it's fresh and nice and colorful. Let me show you this here. We've got this beautiful little French herbs with lavender, and I use this all the time. If you've seen me demonstrate before, we just use this almost all the time. What I like to do is I like to start in a dry pan. So we've got nothing in our pan. We've got a little bit of heat in here. So I scoop the onions right off the cutting board like this. Don't try to pick them up and waddle them in there. You can just scoot them in there. That's a very chefy thing to do. In we go, a little bit of olive oil, okay? It's starting to get hot. We just want to get a little light saute on this, okay? So let's let that cook for about 2 minutes, okay? So I have turned into shopping just like everybody turns into regular people have to shop now. So I tend to buy like restaurant bulk products that are sometimes a little better quality, and I've succumbed to having to buy these little baby carrots. We'll talk about that. But I've got to go to the grocery store now like everybody else. So that's what's kind of fun about these, because I'm not pulling out any secret hard to find ingredients, okay? So organic ground beef, get good stuff when you can, okay? So we're just gonna slash this guy right open here, okay? In we go with our ground beef. I'm not gonna make all this. I'm gonna make about a third of this little container here. Let's put a little bit of salt and pepper in here, okay? Just season it right in here. Here's our Cajun spice. Let's put a little bit of this in here. Just knock the back of the container. It'll come out a little easier. A little Cajun. So I want a little bit of zip in here, okay? We're gonna put a little bit of ketchup in here. Okay? Zippity-doo. I'm not measuring, I'm just adding a little bit. It's just be common sense here. We'll put this recipe up on Facebook following this. There's a little bit of Dijon mustard. See how thick it is, and see how it's a light, kind of tan yellow. It's not that yellow mustard, okay? A little bit of Dijon mustard in here. Herbs de Provence in here that we showed you, okay? So, this is our onions. See the onions, how they're just browning on the bottom? Keep them flip. Now's the time to try your flipping skills, okay? Give them a flip. It turns them much easier than trying to fart around here with a spoon, okay? So, we've got a nice saute starting in here, okay? Let's let that go for another second. Let's cut our mushrooms while we're doing it. So all we're gonna do is wait for our onions to cook really briefly here. Let's put this aside. Now I've got my clean board. Let's cut our mushrooms and begin to saute these for our gravy. So I'm going to cut the mushrooms in big quarter chunks like this, okay? There's your mushrooms. They're nice and quartered. Let's get our onion here, okay? Look at these onions sauteing here. That's perfect, okay? Let's go with it. Look at these onions, how they're, it's almost like they're starting to caramelize. They're just light brown. They're not raw. right? Here's your raw onion. It's white and kind of acidic and has a strong bite to it. This onion has this sweetness coming off of it. There's no salt in here. This is just a light saute, almost beginning to caramelize. They're nice and soft. Beautiful. So you can tell I've got a lot of onions in here. So my ground beef, little ketchup, little mustard, little of these sauteed onions in here. I put some salt. Let's go a little bit more salt in here. Okay. A little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, now you see how oniony this is? This is what you want. This is like old-fashioned 1970s, you know, diner. I think we took it for granted back then, but I think this is great comfort food, and I think it would sell like hotcakes, okay? So you've got this really kind of onion-laden ground beef. Now, my onions were hot going in here, so you might think, okay, that's against the rules, but we're going to make this right away. We're not going to let this sit, okay? We're just going to go ahead and cook this right now. This is what this is for. This is what we're all doing here now. I've got my pan. Let's get a little bit of mild heat on here. I'm going to use my same onion pan here. And in we go, okay? I've already cleaned my hands, don't worry. We're just going to form little loose patties out of here. These don't need to be perfect. All right, when it's perfect, that means it's frozen or prepared. There's a little bit of olive oil on here. Look at that, perfect. So you've got, oh, it smells good already. So you've got your nice little kind of Salisbury patty, which is technically a burger that's seasoned, okay? Look at the onions just kind of hanging out of the edge of this thing. They're just falling out of there, okay? No problem. For those of you who are putting cracker crumbs in anything involving ground beef, stop it. It's wrong. Put this, it doesn't hold this together, it doesn't do anything, it just robs the flavor and it actually sucks up more fat than you want. You want to release a little bit of fat here. You don't want cracker crumbs in it. It should always be gluten-free. There's the burger, okay? So, I'm going to put a little touch of olive oil in here. So we're looking for a little brown on the edges. Look at this, it's not sticking at all. Give it a nice flip. Look at that, it's got a nice little sort of brown top. I don't need to have this perfect. Remember, it's not really a hamburger. It's going to be kind of looser, and but it's holding together very nice. There's no breadcrumbs in here, and we're going to go right in a preheated 350 oven. This will only go in for about 4 or 5 minutes. I want it to be sort of well done. I'm not looking for a medium rare hamburger here, but we're looking for medium well, but not dry. Okay, so let's go 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, in we go. I'm doing this real time. Okay, there's no little hidden secrets I don't have. Like when I do cooking classes, I pull out, hey, look at this, it's done. This is real time. You can really do this in 15 minutes, okay? I didn't really have any prep going here. As a matter of fact, I don't even have my veggies cut yet. So, I've got my mushrooms cut. The reason I did this first is because we're gonna add our mushrooms right to the pan first. So remember, I've preheated this pan for a few seconds here. There's nothing in here, no oil or anything. Let's scoot our mushrooms in here, just like we did our onions. And that's a dry pan. Now I've got a high heat here. We're gonna add some olive oil, and you're gonna hear this sizzle, okay? We're gonna make this in 2 stages. We're gonna saute the mushrooms first, because it's a mushroom gravy. I don't want mushrooms just floating around in there like most restaurants do. They're just floating around in there. You might think they're good, but they're not that great. Let's get our mushrooms to just jump around in here and get a nice light saute on them with a little bit of salt so they're roasted, and then we'll add them to the gravy at the end. So I've got 2 stalks of celery here. I'm making kind of a small batch like you'd make at home, okay? This is from my refrigerator at home. I had literally 2 stalks of celery sitting in there, luckily, okay? So we've got a little bit of brown edges. Don't let that freak you out, okay? We're gonna dice this with our nice new sharp knife. See this, how this happens? Okay, see how I dice it with my fingers like this? Don't go like that, okay? That's horrific. We're going to just jump around with our left hand here and dice, make that perfect dice there, okay? See, is your life better already? Chef Dave makes your life better. That goes around a little bit. See, our mushrooms are getting nice and brown. Look at that. Okay, very, very nice. Don't deep fry them, okay? So here's that other half of the onion, okay? We'll probably go ahead and use the whole thing. It might be a little bit too much onion. Matter of fact, no, I'm gonna stop here. This is important. I'm gonna stop here. We're just gonna stop here with the onion, okay? Even that little bit, it's gonna be too much. So you can see how I just kind of, this is so sharp. This knife is awesome. Okay, so I've sliced it this way, and I've sliced it in this way, about 3/4 through. Now when we dice it, when we slice it, it comes these nice perfect dices. See that? I'm gonna lay the end down and give that a little dice. Awesome. So, here's our mushrooms here. Look at those mushrooms. Just a little bit of steam coming off here. The mushrooms are nice and browning there. A little bit of salt. Just a little bit of salt. We saute first so you can get this browning here, then you season it, okay? Because otherwise the water comes out. I'm stuck with these little baby carrots, okay? I didn't find any big carrots. Whatever reason, I don't know. The zombies ate them. Look at the mushrooms, okay? Out they go into the plate there. Perfect mushrooms, okay? Our Salisbury steak alarm went off. Look at it, they're perfect. The pan has that browning stuff going on in there. Perfect. Back to our gravy. So we've sauteed our mushrooms. They're on a plate there. They're perfectly seasoned. Our steaks are done. They're just staying warm there. Don't cover those. You never cover anything out of the oven. It's gonna just get dried up. So just let that rest and sit there. All right? Here's our little baby carrots, which I'm not a fan of, but this is life now, okay? If you can't find exactly what you're looking for, just deal with it. These happen to be organic baby carrots. I got them from Fresh Time. Go for it. Whatever. So here's our pan. It's smoking pretty hot. That's a dry pan. We had our mushrooms in there, but there's very little oil in here. It's basically back to that dry, seasoned pan now. In we go with our little mirepoix here. Onions, celery, carrots. Okay? Let's put 3 cloves of garlic. It might be now. There's no oil in here anymore. Let's just let that get hot. Here's our garlic. Give it a whack. That's fun. Just whack it. Okay. Here's our garlic. Perfect. Okay. Just gonna scoop that up. In we go. Don't be afraid to whack it. Okay. Boom. Now, olive oil. Listen to the sizzle. Okay. Give this a little saute here. This is just gonna get a little brown. We're gonna go for about maybe 1 minute on this. We're just gonna get a little browning on here. Look at the veggies, how they're just starting to get neon green, and you got that nice little orange going on in there. I love it. Let's visit some herbs. Now, I just bought this pack of herbs the other day. Got a little pack of rosemary, thyme, and sage. Rather than just buying thyme that maybe I'm stuck with it, here I can make this sage into a sage gravy. You've heard of sage gravy before? That's pretty common in cookbooks and restaurants, and you got this beautiful bit of sage here. No, just let that cook. That's a high heat there. We're going to let that cook, okay? So we're going to take just the top of the sage off and the bottom. If you're so inclined to save that for a month and make stock, great. We're going to chuck it. Just going to pile this into a bunch like this. I think this is key because a lot of times you watch these cooking shows and they say sage, boom, and you go, whoa, where's the middle part of the dicing and the chopping and the prepping and what do I do with the stem, okay? So this is why we're doing this, okay? So we're just going to pile this into like a little cigar here, a sage cigar, okay? And we're just going to slice it once. You can only slice sage and basils is the same way. How are you going to slice your basil? You only slice it once. If you go and terrorize this thing and chop it like crazy, it gets all discolored and wet and liquidy and gross, okay? So we want to just give that a little julienne slice, and when we eat this gravy, you're going to see that sage just explode in your mouth. Okay? Our onions and veggies are getting nice and brown like that. Look at that, okay? They're getting a nice little caramelized like that. Now, we've got just enough olive oil in here to saute, but we need a little touch more because we're going to make sort of a roux with this, okay? And again, I think this is going to be vegan, which most meat eaters are going to freak out. Oh, I don't eat vegan, but we're going to eat this. You're not going to die. Anybody who's vegan or vegetarian, great. You learn a new method here that you don't have to buy something in a jar or something. We don't like that. Okay, so we've got our 3 veggies plus our garlic in there. They're getting nice and a little touch of brown. We're going to add just a little bit of flour to this, okay? Just a little touch of flour will be our roux that's going to thicken this up. So yeah, okay, the roux's old school. I'm not a big old school, really high caloric reduced dishes, but you really need that technique on the method of being able to thicken a sauce properly, have a good texture and a lovely taste without having all this way in your belly, okay? We're not going to make a gloppy gravy. We're just going to make a nice gravy that's got a good texture to it. What we want to do is cook that flour. So can you smell that? Can you guys smell that, okay? It smells like roasted nuts or roasted almonds. We did pumpkin seeds at home yesterday. It smells like that. Get this slight kind of browning to the flour, and we're going to cook the flour in the oil, in the pan, rather than waiting for it to boil with the liquid, okay? In we go with our vegetable broth, okay? Vegetable broth, vegetable stock, okay? Same thing. Just use it, okay? We've got that nice cooked browning here. Now this is already done. This just has to come to a boil. Let's add our sage. So beautiful sage vegetarian gravy. A little bit of salt and pepper, okay? A little bit of that herbs de Provence. We can add a little touch of that. Okay, why not? I'm going to add some extra pepper. So I mix my salt with pepper, and we're going to add some extra black pepper in here because I want that little zip. And that smell of the pepper is going to be awesome, okay? Now, what I did was I added about a cup of stock to this, of this vegetable stock, and we're gonna see the texture. Look at how this is already thickening up, okay? That's probably, you can see it on camera, yeah, that's showing up probably a little too thick. And we can always add more. So if your recipe says a cup and a half, add 3/4 of a cup and see how it goes, because you want this great texture. It's full of vegetables. Let's taste this, okay? That's amazing, but it's not fully amazing yet, because remember, we got these beautiful mushrooms in here. They're leaching out that mushroom. Look at that mushroom stock. See, there's your stock right there. It's mushroom stock in that. So let this come to a boil. In go your mushrooms. All right. All right, enjoy. Bon appetit. Go cook. Peace, and we'll see you next time.